Hello and welcome back to the Messenger podcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, thank you for joining us. And if you are coming back, you already know what to expect. So let's dive into today's topic. In the message draw today, we have a very interesting one. It's a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and to a lot of women, if not all women. I wanted to talk about the struggles, the trials, the pain, the agony that is menstruation and period, and that's associated with womanhood. Yes, and boys, stay with us. Do it for family, do it for your mom,
lady,
for your girlfriend, do it for your own growth and well-being, your own understanding.
Yeah.
Who you live with. You'll make better partners.
Good.
And every woman out there has a horror story to tell. So to start a bit light, I wanted to get an idea with you girls. Like, what was your first period like? Were you expecting it? Were you shocked? Did you have sisters or women around you that you kind of knew what was happening? What was it like? Groves.
My first period. Do you know what? I got my period a couple of months after the rest of my friends got it. So everyone in my group had already gotten their period. And I think I was 13. We were in like year 8. And all my friends had already gotten their period. And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I was like really confused. And then I spoke to my sister and she didn't get her period until she was 15. So when I got my period, my mum was like, what, mate, you're too young. What? And she was actually like, she was almost irritated at me that I'd gotten my period this early. And she didn't talk to me about my period at all. I know, it's crazy, right? Like as if I had self-control over it. But for her, it was like I was developing too young and I was becoming a woman too young or whatever.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, whatever cultural association. What, did you not get your period was that
Bro,
late?
I got mine early.
You were
Yeah,
Yeah, you was really late, Grover.
I know, everyone else had gotten them in my group and I was like 13 and my mum thought that was too early. So
that was normal.
No, to my mum, she was like, I didn't get my period till I was like 15 and my sister had gotten hers at 15. So yeah. And it was my sister who helped me out with that actually. She like taught me everything and stuff. But I was told not to use tampons.
Oh, well. I got mine is completely different from Grover then. I got mine in church.
No.
First period was in church. I got up to go use the toilet, and my sister was like, uh-oh. She knew. And then she gave me, I think, cardigan or whatever, I don't know. And I was in Leeds, so that means I was probably 11, 12. But I didn't come back until year 7-ish. So it didn't come back about months later, where my mum found it on my bed sheets and she was like, if that happens again, you have to let me know. So yeah, that's how mine happened.
Harry?
Mine's a bit embarrassing. So we briefly learnt about periods in sex education, but it was so brief, I didn't really remember much. And I remember waking up one night, like just drenched in, this is really graphic by the way, so if you can't stand it, don't listen. I was drenched in blood. And I remember I went to the bathroom and I, looked down there and I was like, oh my God. I started like bawling my eyes out, like crying. And like I went to my mum's room at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, I think I'm dying. And my mum just bursted out laughing, like, how old are you? And she gave me a pad and she was like, this is your period, put this on, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I learned I wasn't dying. I just felt like I was dying.
Did anyone have period party?
No.
No. My mum was upset with me that I'd gotten my period.
Because some girls, some families throw their daughters, they take them out for a meal or like to celebrate. Well done, you're now a woman.
I've never heard of a period party. We should have had a period funeral.
I wish we had a party though. I feel cheated because we deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. About time.
I had more traumatic experience. with my period first time. I knew to expect, and I was only 11, but I knew to expect that all my cousins, all the women in the family had it, and I kind of knew, but no one really talked about it, you know, periods being taboo and all sorts. So it kind of like, I knew they had it, but and in Islam, you know, when a woman has her period, like she doesn't pray, she doesn't fast, so on. So but about, I think a week before my period, I started getting this agonizing pain, like nothing I've ever felt before. Little did I know we will get to know each other very well. And I was in so much pain, and I remember talking to my nurse, like my stomach hurts, and she's like, oh, you can take painkillers. And a week later, but I knew it was about to happen. And a week later, I got my period, but I was just in denial. I was like, no, this is not happening. No. I was convinced. I ran to my nan saying, something cut me. I don't know, something bit me, what it is, but something bit my privates, and now I'm bleeding everywhere. And she was like, no, it's fine. The pain you've been feeling and everything, this will happen once every month from now on. Taught me how to use pad, how to like clean myself afterwards, because Islamically after your period you have to completely rinse yourself to be able to pray and etc. So like taught me how to do all of those, how to look after my clothes. And after that it was just week after week, month after month of fun times.
Really? So after you got your first period, it kept on coming every Mine didn't come back for a while.
Mine was every month from the day it happened. I don't think I've ever skipped a period.
It happened in church, and then it didn't happen for a long time until that morning when my mom found it, and I was like, oh God, it's come back again.
I wanted to ask, what, like the pain, what was it like? Did you kind of expect it? Was it tolerable? Like, you know, a lot of people deal with a lot of pain. Like, how did you deal with that? What would you recommend to someone dealing with it?
My period pains are horrible. Especially when I first started, I swear I could not do anything that day. Nothing. Maybe it's because I didn't know how to deal with it. Whilst now I know what to do. I even know like tomorrow I'm going to be on. Do you know what I mean? So I prepare for it. Whilst before I didn't know anything. So I just had to suffer the pain throughout the whole day. It was horrible.
To your body as well. It's really important.
I used to sweat. I was so hot. I was sweating. There's nothing anywhere, nothing. Hot water bottles were nothing. But right now, I would recommend hot water bottles. I recommend a bath. I recommend Nurofen. But back then, nothing used to work.
Did you guys, like, you know, when you experience pain, did you guys medicate straight away?
I do.
From the get-go?
For me, this pain has never been normal. And there was no way of telling it, because most of what women in my family have struggled, except from the odd one out. And we always thought she was lucky, thinking this is the normal thing. So for me, I remember when I was about 12, I've been getting my period for about a year now. Every month it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I remember being hospitalized because I was just fainting from so much pain. It was awful. So now I don't want to get there. So from the moment I know it's coming, I have to numb the pain.
I try to like thug it out until I'm like, nah, bro, it's not worth it. Just take that ibuprofen. It's right there.
I didn't know it was not normal. As I said, I thought it was, everyone dealt with it until I went to the doctor and she said, does it stop you from living your normal day life? I was like, yeah, obviously. Why wouldn't it? And she was like, well, that's not supposed to happen. I was like, is it not? And every month, 3 days of my life were gone because 3 days I was spent in bed.
Those 3
Maybe
days.
one.
Yeah.
3 days a month is like, how many weeks in the year are there? 52. 3 times 52.
Chunk of your life that you spend in bed.
156 days. Is that right? Is my maths screwed up?
I don't even know what you did there.
3 days a month. We don't get our period every week. I'm doing it by weeks. 3 days a month by 12 months is like 3 times 12, 36.
I think
36 days a year.
I was spending in bed.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's
I would
honestly that painful for a lot of women that you
Yeah.
can't do anything, and a lot every woman gets different. Is it symptoms? Because personally, for me, God, I don't know if I want to say this. No, I'm not gonna say that.
What is that?
No, sometimes like I do need to go to the toilet, and I'm in number 2 quite often.
Sometimes I'm so constipated, which makes it so much more worse. And what was it? But I had underlying issues that I didn't know about that went years undiagnosed, years. And that's one thing I want to talk about tonight more than anything. When you know your body more than anyone else, like we all know our bodies, like Sharon said, she now prepares for it. She knows what to expect. You know your body, and whatever anyone tells you, I think you need to know when to say no or when to. The doctors, like for me, one of the biggest mistakes I made was believe every doctor and what they told me.
To believe everything I told you.
Yeah, I took everything the doctor said face value. Because
I mean, because you think they know best, right?
exactly, and it didn't serve me well. It really didn't.
I think as well, just to point out, when you do speak about that, speak about the fact that you're a black woman and you guys do get ignored or not believed as much, like it within medical racism and stuff. Because that definitely contribute to why you weren't believed as quick as you should have been.
Yeah, I mean, black skin is a thick skin. About
It's not even, there was like a paper back years ago that where someone did an experiment where they found out that black people experience less pain than white people. Obviously, that's not true, but a lot of modern day medical people still carry that information with them and think black women and black men don't feel pain the same way white people do. So when you're telling them how much pain you're in, they're probably thinking she's overreacting, she's acting up. But yeah.
I want to get into that a little bit more a bit later, but also like as you said, a lot of experiments and things done. A lot of gynecological experiments were done on slave women without any pain, without any painkillers, no help at all. So a lot of things that are now practiced were experimented and practiced on black women because there was this idea that they didn't feel pain.
I mean, they didn't consider. Let's start off with because they didn't consider black people as human. That's why they consider us 1/5 of a human.
With a lot more gynecological problems, like what is it? Black women are 3 times more likely to get fibroids than any other race between the ages of 18 to 30, and from 30 to 60, that number doubles.
Mm-hmm. But back to period pains, right? Did you guys start off with pads or did it or tampons or when did you guys?
Yeah, tampons were forbidden from me as well. I think it's something to do with like your virginity and it going inside you, so it's invasive, or it was just something that like people didn't do.
I started off early. I know I started off before everyone else.
Rebel.
Yes, but I did it wrong because I put in everything with the applicator and I was like, sit down. I couldn't sit. I was like, I can't sit down. And then I went back to citizenship class. They showed how to insert it properly, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I didn't start using it again up to I think year 9.
You're not meant to feel it at all. If you feel
you have to push it up. So yeah, since year 9, I've been on it. Yeah, and I've never looked back.
the lack of education, isn't it? Inserting of all class.
Everything. But I think it's good to have a balance because tampons are really hard to use when it's when towards the end of your period because it's really dry when you're pulling it out and it's quite painful.
But it's also good, like for sports when you're really young and when you're wearing your PE clothes and you're at school. I think it's really handy to be able to wear a tampon and not just rely on pads. Because
especially in primary school, some people start in primary school, and obviously in primary school that's when you do your swimming lessons. So it's good to have it in them cases. Yeah,
able to use them, not just rely 100% on a pad.
One thing I've noticed about me is I started off wearing pads And then I don't think I didn't use tampons until I was about 18, 19 years old. I used it really late in life. And so I'm 24 now, so I've been using tampons since then. And my periods are really, really painful. And during quarantine, I had some pads like just left over, and I was like, I might as well use these. And I used pads, and I kid you not, that was the most least painful period I've had in years. And since quarantine started, I've been using pads, and my periods aren't as painful. So, and everyone's body is different, but yeah, I still use tampons though because it is useful, like these guys said, when you're, when you're working, when you're doing stuff. But yeah,
I know a friend who used to sleep in jeans when she was on her period, like because she was so worried about leaking. She would wear actual like leggings and then jeans to bed.
Do you know what? I'm laughing, but that's real. That's real. Like, you
Also,
don't want to.
Pardon?
it breaks my heart
What?
that someone has to.
I think it's just like some people like have really like, what is it, heavy flows, and so they feel they need to like for extra security. But I just can't even imagine how uncomfortable sleeping.
I feel like before growing up, the pads were like that short.
They were shorter, right? I thought that too. They were shorter.
Yeah,
now
now
they're like that
Yeah.
big.
And I'm like,
this big now.
why did it take this long? This makes sense, especially when you're going to bed.
Do you remember pads used to cut you? Oh my god, I remember them. The always pads. I don't know what they were made of, but they were so rubbery. And like the 5th day of your period, your legs will be so sore. And only they changed it and made it into softer material that it doesn't cut you.
it didn't cut me, but I definitely felt sore by the end of my time in the month.
Yeah.
And that first sleep, when you no longer have to wear a pad, you sleep so good. So good.
Do you guys think pads and tampons should be free?
100%.
Of course.
100%.
Sexual health clinics hand out condoms.
But I thought
I don't like that argument. I don't like the argument because I feel like condoms aren't just there to make it protect a guy. It's also there to protect the girl because it's the only sure way to protect from STIs. So I think comparing the two isn't a fair comparison. Like, I get where it's coming from.
The idea is that they're both accessories for your protection of that sort of thing. So for me, although the purpose of both of them is very different, and one protects one from STDs and STIs, at the same time, I think they're both accessories to protecting your genitals in some way, form or another. So to me, if you're going to hand out condoms to protect men and women, then you should hand out pads to protect women.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think the argument is that it's protecting men. I think the argument is that it's protecting everyone.
Exactly.
Pads or tampons protect beyond just genitals. They protect dignity because periods are so an embarrassment to talk about. Or heavens forbid, you got a drop of blood on your skirt, or it's a horrifying experience. So it also is a dignity protection, and a lot of girls are robbed of that. In our school, which was really good, and I thought this was across all UK schools, and I learned that wasn't the case. But do you remember our school, we had free tampons and pads?
Yeah, I remember. You could get them at the reception at any time, at any point.
You didn't have to ask. You walk in there, up in that little cupboard, get what you needed to.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? I remember. It was in the back where the little medical section was.
All the time I went there, yeah.
And you didn't even have to come out. The door led to the toilets as well from the office.
And the lady will help you hide it as well. She was amazing.
But not all girls had that, and we were so lucky. And I think we didn't understand just how lucky we were to have that, because it was a form of privilege. We didn't know we didn't worry about it until I realized that a lot of girls didn't have that. So what I want to talk about is the embarrassment, or what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of periods are not something to talk about. If there's a man around, you do not say a word. You, in fact, apologize to the man sometimes.
Because we get shamed for it.
Shame, that's the word. Why are periods shameful? Why do you think periods are shameful?
Period shaming is a real thing. Some people are dating boys that don't even want to meet them if they're in a period. They're like, oh yeah, I'll see you next week. Is that real?
Why do you think that? Where do you think that shame comes from? And why do you think that is?
Well, oh god, no, I don't want to make that. Can you cut this out, please? I mean, because you just said that in Islam it's seen as like unclean.
You can. I can talk about that. Yeah. Religion.
Help me out, please, I beg.
No, I agree. I think and it's not just Islam. I think there's other religions. I've not read up on anything from my religion, Sikhism, but I've read that like a lot of other religions also prevent you from like worshipping, going to the temple, indulging in certain activities because you're on your period, because it's declared as unclean. So I think if it's shameful now and it's considered shameful in society now, it all comes down to why it used to be shameful then, and it all comes down to religion, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, and it comes down to why is it unclean? Something that's natural. You know?
I think women are meant to be seen as these pure, angelic, like gifts to men that can make you feel good and give you children and cooks and cleans. And the second you're deemed dirty or you can't sleep with them or they can't give you a kid, it's like I think it comes from a lot of sexism as well, and the fact that we're inaccessible during those days. I don't think people like men don't. I don't think men used to like that.
I was watching a Instagram live between Forward UK and iRise, both amazing organizations that help young girls, especially young Black girls. And it's exactly what Arifa said. And the lady from iRise, she said there were two reasons why there was a period shame from what she understood. One, women were meant to be the sexual beings. And when she's on her period, it's messy, it's gross, it's nothing really to desire. And she was no longer accessible to the man. And in Islam, it's forbidden to have sex with a woman on her period. And the second thing, another purpose that women have in society is to be mothers, to give children that. And again, I can speak from Islamic perspective, heaven is underneath your mother's feet. To be a mother is the best thing you can do as a woman. But period is the absolute opposite of being a mother. You're having your period because you decided not to be a mother.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just so anyways, yeah, those two reasons, because we're no longer serving the purposes men wanted us to serve. They didn't want to know about it. They didn't want to hear it. They wanted nothing to do with it. And I think it's a time women spoke up and we stopped apologizing, talking about our period in front of men.
Listen, I used to be embarrassed buying them. Like if my mum went shopping, that would be the time I would use her to buy it so that I don't have to pick it up. And it's because you felt ashamed to go ahead and buy it and queue up in the line holding it. But now I just don't care.
Something that over half of the world population goes through. It's shameful. You should hide it.
I don't know why it reminds me of it. It reminds me of how, you know, women are shamed for breastfeeding in public.
In this country, yeah.
The West.
Yeah, in this country.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why, but it reminds me of that. Like, it's something that you have to do. It's something very natural. It's very necessary. Yeah. It's so embarrassing to do it.
Like, breast in the West are sexual, objects. And by feeding it to a child, using it for why they are there, like their sole purpose.
Literally.
I think that something that a child feeding of can no longer be a sexual thing.
It's insane.
It just comes down to sexualizing women's bodies, whether they wanted it or not. And as we said, with religions, Islam and Judaism, it started with Judaism. When a woman had her period, they would send her away to the mountains until she finished and she come to imagine that your body is going through a lot. Psychologically, we know when you menstruate, it's all over the place. Your hormones are all over the place. Being all alone, because society deemed you not good enough to be among other people. And it's not like a contagious thing that you can give to other people.
Yeah.
but you're no longer clean. And in Islam, you can't hold the Quran when you're on your period. You cannot enter a house of God, a mosque. You cannot fast. You cannot pray. You cannot do any religious. You cannot fulfill any of your religious obligations purely because you're menstruating. Yeah. So it is, I think the more we talk about it, the more we have a lot of conversations, the more we can eliminate that shame, and we can raise awareness and tell young girls, don't be ashamed. And when you say, I am dying, I'm in agony, don't let some idiot tell you being hit in the balls is more painful.
Guys, do you think we deserve a day off?
100,000,000%.
My period is not as painful as your guys seems. Mine is, I have moments of pain, but I don't have full days of pain. So,
Girl, if I don't have that,
if you give me a day off, I'll take it. But
if I don't have that neurophene, I always go home. I can't
take medicine when I'm on my period. Like, it's just, it doesn't impact me the way it impacts you guys, I think.
I can take all the pills in this world. For me, I can't function. The pills will reduce the pain so much. Like, I would throw up because I'm in so much pain. It might reduce that, but I still can't function like a human being.
Do you throw up as well quite a bit? Do you get sick, like puke sick?
So much pain, I physically get sick.
I get irritated, very, very easily irritated. I'm just,
To me, it's the day before I
it
start.
irritates me. Heavy breathing, anything, everything.
For me, it's the day before I start. I feel it. I'm the most patient person ever on a normal day. But the day before, I just feel irrational, and I feel like everything is irritating, and I'm like, I hate everyone.
Can you tell? Can you guys tell when you're about to start?
I
Yeah.
can't. That pain, there's no hiding from it for me.
It shows in my skin.
Does it?
Yeah.
And the bloating, oh my God, the bloody bloating.
I hate
like, I cry so much like the couple of days before my period. Like I'll be watching a TV about, like dogs that need adopting on TV, and I'll start bawling my eyes out, and I'm like, why am I being such a little bitch?
no.
Oh,
A couple of days.
I get quite.
Okay, I have another question. Have you ever been to the gynaecology that you were met with something that you unexpected? Like, I've been looking on Twitter the horrors women speak about when they are at the gynaecology. Have you ever been, and what was your experience? What was your first time experience? Like opening your legs in front of that doctor, them jamming that thing in. What was that like?
I've never been to a gynecologist.
Never.
No, I don't think any of us have. I've never been examined. Like,
I mean, we're all going to be 25 next year, so we'll have to get a pap smear. But
yeah.
I was reading this online where a young girl went to the gynecologist, and it was a man. I've never had a man examine me, and I've been to the gynecology for God, I can't even count. And she said that when he was examining her, as like doing his thing, he told her, your boyfriend must be very lucky.
I saw that.
That's
Disgusting.
good.
I can't begin to just how inappropriate that is. And leads to my point me saying earlier, like doctors don't see them as this all-knowing creatures. They're human beings. And as Black women, half of the time they don't even bloody believe us.
Mm-hmm.
It took me, what was it, over 10 years for my endometriosis to get diagnosed because no doctor would believe me.
It wasn't related to like down there, but this week I had a hospital appointment, and I had I'm Bengali, and she was Indian, but just having a South Asian doctor, I think, is amazing. Having someone that can relate to you and stuff like that is so important. So
I had a South Asian doctor, and actually I didn't have a great experience with her. She didn't take much of what I said very seriously. So I had a very different experience.
People really underestimate period pains.
Especially men. Like, you know your body so much.
And some women who don't get the same pains as we do, they really think like they don't get it. Like, people are throwing up, people are going to the toilet 3-4 times a day. I'm not going into work. Like, you really think I'm trying to take a day off work because of a stomachache? A simple stomachache? No, it's painful.
For me, my pain, I didn't know what it was. And as I said, I thought it was normal. And this is what I want to emphasize. If you think your pain is not normal, believe your body, listen to your body. Because I was like, I knew this wasn't normal, but at the same time, I just thought every woman must deal with this, until the doctor told me that it wasn't. And I went through a lot of medications, different got misdiagnosed like a couple of times, many medications. Sorry?
Do you feel like because of the systematic racism and also, I guess, sexism, or under the lack of understanding for periods, do you feel like you put off seeking treatment because of that?
I personally, I don't think I have, and I know there is like systematic racism towards Black people, especially Black women, in the gynecological health. But for me, it was just too painful for me to not do anything. I would happily put up with the racism if it will help me deal with this pain.
Yeah.
And I was put on a pill that was awful. Oh my goodness. And as I said, I took the doctor face value. They will tell me, okay, you're describing this pain. This is what we will put you on. I'll be like, okay, give it to me now. Because I was so desperate. And I just go on.
I think that's something a lot of people do. They're like, I know your doctor gives you all the facts or gives you like different options, but they don't always give you all the options available to you, all the courses of treatment. And I know they say, oh, don't Google your symptoms, because you do get a lot of bullshit answers. But at the same time, no, like, understand what the doctor's offering you. I was once offered like really strong antidepressants, really extremely strong antidepressants for something that was like just anxiety, and I probably just needed a bit of like CBT. But I was offered hella strong beta blockers and antidepressants, and when you look it up, that shit screws you over, you know.
It's addictive.
Like,
and that's how they make money.
Do your research before you start taking any sort of medication that you
when
find.
they prescribe something, or when they tell you this is the medication or procedure that we think you should take, tell them, okay, let me go home and think about it and research exactly what it entails, how invasive it is, both psychologically and physically. Understand what you put in your body and mind to.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I had such horrible experience. I was put on a pill, and I didn't know what side effects I was associated or anything. She told me, you might gain a little bit weight here and there, but you'll be fine, blah, blah. So I started taking this pill. I kid you not, I had 23 different side effects. None of them were pleasant. But I didn't know. If I knew that was what was in store for me, I wouldn't have taken that medication.
YouTube everything before I got to the
But you can see real life experiences.
I know, it's mad, but I do. I like to see people's videos and they're like, this worked for me, this didn't. And then the other person be like the opposite. And then I'll just decide myself. Do you know how many YouTube videos I watched before my first laser hair treatment thingy? Appointment.
I did research on that too.
I watched bears, and they're all for Black women because I need someone with the same. I need someone with the same skin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
do your research. Honestly, do your research. And tell them it's too painful. Tell whatever you're feeling. Don't downplay your pain. I downplayed my pain quite a lot. They'd be like, is it actually that bad? I'm like, well, now you say it, I don't think it is.
You know, my dad always tells my brother, like, my brother's got pain because he's a Black man as well. He's like over exaggerated. Even recently, he had to go to hospital. He was like over exaggerated. Do not live with that. Yeah, he was like over, like literally. That's when they will take you seriously.
I was reading an article today that said 74% of African American men, despite having similar reports of pain, I not believe their pain to be true.
They're not believed to be true.
Yeah, like 74% of this is American study of African American men. Despite reporting the same pain as their white counterparts, they're not believed, whereas all the whites are.
It just
Do
doesn't
you know
make
what's
sense.
fucked up about that is? It's in America. The NHS obviously is free, right? But in America, these black men are paying bucks to go see their doctors, money, and they're still not being treated. That's
Yeah,
so messed
it's
up.
America is what we're talking about, the most racist country ever. They're
Yeah.
the ones that came up with this whole thing that black people don't feel pain. They're the ones that came up with the whole thing that black people are one fifth of a human being, whatever it was. So that doesn't surprise me one bit.
But it has nothing to do with money, fame, power, because what is it? The two most powerful women in our modern society, Serena Williams and Beyonce, both had horrible childbirth experience. They paid good money, they went to the best doctors, they still were treated such horribly. And in the UK, black women are 5 times more likely to die during childbirth than white women.
I read this article during the Black Lives Matter movement, and it was explaining why white people undermine anyone's other pain. It was like black people, Muslim people, it was Spanish, it was Arabs, it was everyone, and they were just justifying it by putting little quotes by what the traditions say or what the religion says. And I was like, there's no way this is taught in medical schools and
Oh
things
yeah, like Jewish people tend to be smarter but more but stingy. There was a lot of horrible things in
It
that.
was horrible. I was reading and I was like, there's no way people are taught this.
But it was a science book. It was a medical book.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It was horrific.
So this is very real.
Systematic racism in the health industry is alive and thriving, and unfortunately, we even now experiencing it. What is it? A lot of medication or a lot of symptoms are created for white people. And was it a black man was describing his pain symptoms to NHS 111. I think I saw this on Twitter, and they told him, "Did your skin go blue?" And it's like, "No, my skin hasn't gone blue," and they're like, "You're fine."
That's another thing. That how my skin is gonna react is not how a white person's gonna react.
Skin will never
My skin is not gonna turn red. If I have a rash, it's not gonna show up the same as a white person. So they'll be like, well, it's meant to be red. It's like, well, I'm brown, I'm black. My skin is not gonna show up like that.
I will never turn purple. Let me tell you that much.
It's just dumb to me. It's like, how can you not use your common sense?
Yeah, because it's that they are trained on these studies that were done 100 years ago on white people to help white people, for white people, by white people. So
it really stumps me how systematic racism, why it still exists in this day and age. Like, despite everyone talking about it, like, we're not the first people in the world to talk about systematic racism. We're not the first people in the world to talk about, like, the fact that things like, does your skin go blue, how can that still exist as a symptom in such a diverse country? How is that even allowed? Why is that not being adapted when your 111 staff, the 111 staff of, 30%, 40%, however many of them are black? Like, how does it even make sense to have that sort of criteria when everyone in this, it's not like this country is 100% white.
yeah,
It's predominantly white, though. I'm not agreeing. I'm agreeing with your points, but this country is still predominantly white, which is why.
It is, but a lot of doctors.
How have they been tackled, though? How have these things not been tackled in the 21st?
Lack of consideration.
But all my doctors have been Asian men. So it's kind of like, okay.
White.
So it's kind of like, okay, the country is predominantly white. Obviously, we live in England, but all my doctors have been Asian men. So it's kind of like, what do they say to their fellow Asians? Because this studies also included Asian people. It's included Muslim people, which majority of them are black and Asian. So it's kind of like, are you also taught to treat your people like that?
Yeah.
That's the studies, that's the books they've studied. If they went to school in this country, that is the books that they're being taught. When this person has this disease, or this condition, their skin goes purple, they do this, this happens. So that is the threshold that they are looking for, because they've never been taught what happens to any other body that isn't white. They don't know. So they're figuring out as it happens right there and then. When a non-white person has a condition, it's new to them. That's how they're learning.
But you're Asian.
Like, why are they not questioning it?
Yeah, because it's not gonna be the same for them.
I want to ask why the Asian community are not as vocal about racism as the black. Obviously, black people experience it a lot more, but Asians experience it quite a lot. But when today, I was researching about gynecological racism, and there was a lot of articles written by black women about the experiences of black women, but I could not find anything about Asian women.
And a lot of I've had a few Asian girlfriends who've been like, they don't want to go to a doctor if it's an Asian woman because they don't want to be judged. Well, it depends what they're going in for. So that also needs to be spoken about.
100%.
They need to absolutely vocalize, to speak about these situations.
I think it's like with brown girls, it's from my perspective, I can't speak for all brown girls, but for me, or in my past experiences, brown doctors are seen as you have that judgy auntie culture that you read about a lot on social media, the judgy auntie culture. I think it comes from that sort of perspective, where when you see a brown woman, you're worried that she's going to judge you and stuff like that. Or she might
I
tell
think
you.
that's because you study for a long time to be a doctor. Doctors are usually a little bit older than us, and in Asian communities, you're taught to, I'm not saying other cultures don't, but you're taught to really respect your elders, to watch what you say around them, blah, blah, blah. And I think we just carry that into medical practice, because they're this middle-aged Asian woman. I don't want to tell her I'm here for what X, Y, and Z, because you're an auntie technically. So I think that's part of it, for sure.
But isn't that their job? They're offering that care and tenderness that they've studied years to other people who are not their race. Why not offer to the girls who need the most, the girls you understand?
No, I'm not saying that they don't. I think it's just the stigma that young people have against middle-aged Asian people is that's an auntie, that's an uncle. I have to treat them with respect. I can't let them see this shameful side of me. That's just how you treat your elders.
So do you think it's something that the young people feel rather than the old people placing that judgment on them?
Yeah. I don't think they experience it. I think it's just how we feel about. You were just told, like she said, we're just told not to be shameful. And when you go to your doctor, you've got to show them everything and say everything and be as transparent as possible. And we're not very transparent with our elders, are we? With our aunts, with our parents. We sort of, I feel like there's this wall between us from their experience and from our experience. So it's the same with doctors. It's like with a brown middle-aged doctor, you just can't be as transparent as you want to be.
I think education is needed there, isn't it? They need to be open and show the young people there's nothing to fear, that they are there to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Young people to be braver,
and not be so worried about it. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting, and I think that needs to be tackled within the brown community. Something to be tackled, because our health is very important, and if we are ashamed to say what's wrong with us, then we will all die.
Basically.
Going back to our original topic, sorry we deviated a little bit. Growing up in an Islamic country, you go to Islamic school, and a lot of, even here actually, children who go to Islamic school in this country and in America, your period gets monitored.
What?
The teacher, your Islamic school teacher, and I've had this with a lot of girls on Twitter I've been speaking to, mostly in America, but also we had it in Somalia, where, because being on your period was a way to get out of going to the Islamic school, because often the school would be inside a mosque, and if you're not allowed to go to a mosque when you're on your period, you were allowed to not go to school for the time of your period. And so a lot of girls would use that to not go, and so they would monitor it. So they had a period diary for all the girls, so you couldn't lie and say I was on my period if it wasn't the timing.
Yeah, but who, like, at that age, whose periods come at the exact same time?
They didn't care. I don't think they cared.
I don't know how I
So
feel.
how did you find that then?
Awful.
What did you have to do? Show them your pad? Like, how does that work?
No, but you tell them, so you can't like take off longer than you should, or they know roughly how long your period normally lasts. So if your period only lasts 3 days, you can't take 7 days.
I guess it's kind of like they would like the first month or the second month or the first 3 months that they tracked your period.
Yeah,
They
so
obviously didn't know what you
for,
were
like,
about, but eventually it becomes a pattern,
Yeah.
and then they can identify that, okay, she usually gets her period about
girls
10th or
between the ages of I remember my cousins going through it. So I left Somali when I was very young. Sorry. Yeah, but I remember my cousins who were older, like they had a diary for their period in the school, and someone will check it, but they were like 16, 17. So by then you would have a rhythm to your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but ever they do it here. I thought it was only done in Somalia, but I saw on Twitter that a lot of Somali girls saying that their period was monitored. I was like, oh, so they do it everywhere, which I think is an invasive thing to do to a young girl for something that you've been told that is shameful. You're not supposed to talk about it, this and that. Or someone else has a diary to it. They are counting it down for you.
We used to use our period all the time to get out of PE.
Oh yeah.
It's very strange, isn't it, being a young girl? It's tough out there. But don't let anyone take you for a fool. Your body, yours. Your body.
You know your body. You're not exaggerating. That pain is really painful, okay? If you need time off, take time off. Seriously. And carry a water bottle with you everywhere, please. If you're at work, have it in your drawers. Have some sort of like painkiller with you.
And the other conditions that make period pain more painful than it is. Like you might have other underlying conditions that you don't know that are causing you so much pain. Like
download a period calendar, please, so that you know, so that you're prepared.
And download
Period calendar is so useful. I so recommend it. It's so helpful having it laid out for you to see. If I can recommend one, it would be the Flow one.
Flow.
But
Every girl needs that app.
So that you know, so that you're prepared, so you're not guessing. So
record everything, any changes, know your body in and out. It will help you.
And don't let boys shame you, people. Don't let boys shame you.
If
you know what, I make a point.
Dump him.
I make a point of any time that I do end up I'm going to talk about periods all the time, but any time that I do end up talking about it, I make a point of like not being embarrassed about it, even if I do feel slightly uncomfortable because of that old mentality of being really self-conscious. I go, no, Gunjan, don't do that, because what you're doing is you're further letting this culture of being embarrassed, you're letting that evolve and you're letting it move forward with you as well. So I make a point not to, and to be more open about it then and there.
Mm-hmm. And it's uncomfortable. It does make us uncomfortable because our entire lives we've been told it's uncomfortable. So fight that urge to feel embarrassed.
Listen, in flipping citizenship, or some people call it PHSE, boys and girls were split up. So boys, I don't remember boys learning about it the same way we did. I personally, not me in year 7, year 8. We were split up. Boys went in a different classroom, girls remained, and we spoke about periods. And
I always wonder what they learn.
I know, I always want to know what boys learn about.
What do they learn about? Like, what is the extent of their knowledge when it comes to periods?
I think they teach like what dreams and things like that.
They what?
Like they teach them what dreams and rubbish, like how they know that they reach puberty.
Wet dreams, but yeah, I think everyone should be educated on everything.
Absolutely.
Like, I think we need to know about wet dreams as much as they need to know about periods. I know doesn't directly impact us, but it's important to know what impacts the other sex, because we're not all out here living our lives as male and female. We are constantly mixed together. We live in a diverse group, it's important to be aware
and
of
a lot of boys are so ignorant about periods. Like, if I am acting out, it's not because I'm on my period. It's annoying.
I hate it when people blame it on shit like that.
Pisses me off when they say, "Oh, because you are on your period." Now I'm pissed off. You said that.
Now I'm more pissed off, and I am on my period.
But how dare you blame it on that?
How dare you conclude to that?
I'm a human being. I have control over my emotions and my body. Like I just don't react to the way my body wants me to.
And a lot of girls do play into that as well. Stop doing that. It's annoying. It's not doing anyone any favors.
It's just furthering a stigma. Let's remove the stigma attached to periods. It's not embarrassing. It's not undignifying. It is a natural thing. Over half of the world's population goes through, and you'll be going through it for a very long time.
God, menopause. Oh my God.
Menopause.
Let's not talk about menopause.
When we reach menopause, we will give you the down low.
On that.
And on that note, oh, this was fun.
This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Me too.
Good. Okay, all right, guys. Thank you so much for entertaining us. We really, really enjoyed talking about this, and we hope that you took 1 or 2 things from us. If you didn't, then hopefully you already know everything there is to know.
If you're a boy, please don't click off. Don't think this is nothing to do with me. Watch it anyway and educate yourself. Right, Najma, on that note.
On that, yeah, thank you very much. Well, thank you for joining us.
Stay messy.
Stay messy. Bye, 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 bye.